Thank you guys for listening in on this special lunch session. I hope that I've actually shared a little token of my appreciation for you eating your lunch with me. I shared some of the stickers that you see here on the back of my laptop. If you like to grab some of those, if you don't have any on your table, I think there's some in the ones up here. I had a feeling no one was gonna sit in the front. I don't know why. But those are fun, water bottles as well. So I will first say that when I believe it was Kim that went on earlier, and she had said that Omid set her up perfectly, and both of them set me up perfectly. So I feel like you guys will jump right in here. The emergence of conversational AI has brought forth our latest industrial and societal revolution. The continuous evolution of work intersects with moments of massive disruption, which I believe Bill had mentioned yesterday. It's an innovation is created, leading to the formation of new jobs. And in that process, some jobs go away, and any of the remaining jobs are pretty much transformed. That first industrial revolution, I know we've all learned this at some point. We saw the introduction of factories and production brought on by water and steam power. And that started moving jobs from farms into the factory, right? In the second, we saw mass production and the assembly line increase the need for specialized workers and managers. And if any of you guys are staying at the Cumberland house where I'm staying, you may have noticed in the elevator next to the little sign that says, oh, by the way, you can get a drink at 8:55, right? There is a little quote there that says, when the railroad first came into Knoxville, it changed the textile industry, right? And that is pretty much what was happening in that second industrial revolution. All of a sudden, there was all these new forms of railway going in because the expansion in the US was happening. In the third industrial revolution, that was the first round of automation that we saw via computers, requiring more skilled workers to run those machines for us. The financial crisis of 2007, the Great Recession, and connected devices were the catalyst of our fourth industrial revolution, which would have been called the digitalization era. I'm hoping that these slides behind me are moving as I go. The introduction of the iPhone in 2007 was, in my opinion, the most transformational of all the connected devices that were introduced. Don't worry, I'm not too young to remember the time before iPhones or mobile phones. My first mobile phone was, in fact, that one right over there. I think it was 96 or 97. I was so excited to get that phone. But you may recall that before you had something like an iPhone, you would have to print out directions from MapQuest. Anyone remember doing that? You'd use an atlas. I had one of those in my car, the books, right? You had to write your meetings down in a planner. You had to memorize important phone numbers. Some people like myself may have actually also used Yellow Pages and those payphones. Rolodexes on your desk, come on. And we had to use a camera and go and get film developed. But all that changed with the introduction of the iPhone. And I don't know about you, but I could definitely not live without that technology today. Not only did the emergence of those types of devices, like an iPhone, or if you're an Android fan, I get it, they significantly transformed our lives, right? But they also transformed every single profession. How about when you see store clerks in a store now, right? When they are checking inventory, replacing inventory, what are they using? I hope these are coming up. You guys tell me if you don't see it. Delivery drivers, right? They're monitoring packages that are in transit with what? Connected device, mobile device. How's your doctor taking notes during your appointment? It's on a computer, it's on an iPad. How are your teachers interacting with your students in a classroom or, of course, at home now, right? The creation of new jobs such as an Uber driver, an app developer, social media managers, gosh, how many more? The list goes on. These could have not existed without this type of technology. And now, going back to our industrial revolutions, we find ourselves coming into the next, this catalytic moment that continues our natural evolution of work. And this one is special because it's coming off the heels of a global pandemic. There's some economic fluctuation. We've got some social unrest going on due to conflicts, some major social and cultural shifts, and yet another innovation. The disruptive technology known as conversational AI, which was marked by the release of ChatGPT just late last year. I know we all think that, gosh, this has been around forever, but this particular portion of this technology is just that new. My grandmother used to say this to me all the time. The only constant in life is change, which, although true, yes, it always felt very negative to me. So I would correct her and I'd say, the only constant in life is evolution. The evolution of AI in particular, like I said, is still in its early stages. So many of you may not know that it was first introduced in 1950. And most of us probably didn't use it in our daily lives until about 2011, 2014. That's when you probably started using Siri or Alexa. I have a sister named Alexis, so this is like a really difficult thing in our household when she comes over. AI is used globally to make all kinds of decisions that directly impact our lives, and yet most understand very little about it. What we do not understand, we tend to fear, don't we? So I want to take you on a quick journey to demystify AI. Cognitive science is actually the combination of a number of fields: philosophy, psychology, and computer science. Artificial intelligence, what we know as AI, is the simulation of human intelligence. It is created using large amounts of data. I should say it's currently created using large amounts of data, which I'll explain a little bit more to you in a moment. And that is statistically rendered, they can statistically render a prediction based on patterns in the data that it has been trained on. Data is an artifact of human experience. This is a crazy concept, but data is created by humans, right? Someone had to collect and write down this experience. Humans create the data that goes into the systems that humans are also creating. Let's take a moment and think about who has a historically recorded human experience. Is anyone brave enough to shout out what first popped into their mind when I said that? I think we all know there's, and how much of this information related to human experience has been discarded over the years, right? Quick vocabulary lesson for you guys so that we're all up to speed on the most common words surrounding AI. Information is just data plus context. Knowledge is information plus relationships. And wisdom is in stories. We pass on our knowledge through stories. The language that we use to pass on our wisdom is extremely important. Machine learning, I know you're all like, oh my gosh, what? It's just simply teaching machines how to learn. And natural language processing, which you probably hear a lot about now, NLP, it's just teaching machines how to understand human language. I also want to dispel some of the myths associated with AI because, as Kim had mentioned earlier, there is a lot, right, that I think that is out there in the public that makes us feel like, oh my gosh, it is very scary. One of them that comes up is AI is just one model. Now, for the non-techies, don't worry. Just the basic gist that you need to understand is there's not one model, right? But basically, there's several models that need to be orchestrated together against a live data set, because that is what allows it to create a feedback loop so that these models can continuously learn and improve. The next myth that I see a lot in the media is developing AI is 100% coding. You don't even necessarily need to know what coding is, okay? But yes, it's there. It's just not the whole process. There is a huge amount of time that goes into gathering that data that we talked about earlier, training the model, experimenting, retraining the model before it even goes into production through code architecture. Myth number 3, AI requires large volumes of data and large compute or energy to be created. This is actually this is the one myth that is most frustrating to me. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to teach you this crazy equation. Look at the jelly beans, okay? Let's just say we took a large crowd of people and asked them to guess how many jelly beans were in this jar. And then we took the average of all their guesses. We would have the least amount of error based on the diversity of the crowd. So if we were to take a smaller group of highly diverse people, we could achieve the least amount of error compared to that larger, less diverse group. So what I'm saying is the same as true for AI. It just means that a smaller, more diverse set of perspectives will provide us with accurate outcomes. And that's why when Kim mentioned earlier that everybody needs to be playing with AI, this is why, because we do not have a diverse set of perspectives. Now, for those of us who are also socially conscious, concerned about climate change, I want to mention something else to keep in mind. Most of us don't know this about AI. It's estimated that the energy consumed to train ChatGPT-4 was equivalent to the energy consumption of approximately 1,000 households over 5 to 6 years. Every day today, although this might change, there are hundreds of millions of daily queries put into ChatGPT. Guess how much energy that consumes? That consumes the same daily energy consumption of 33,000 US households. Like, this is a lot of energy. So if we are able to get an extremely diverse set of data to train AI on, that means we could help reduce energy consumption. Fourth myth. Everyone's like, we put in this data, there's this output, we don't know how the answer gets there. Does anyone hear that ever? I was working with a state, actually I'm completely blanking on which state it was a few years ago. They had introduced a new AI into their technology system that was helping residents determine who was welfare eligible. You can imagine what happened, right? They didn't realize the issues, the biases that were put into this particular building of AI, and people were not receiving payments they expected for months. There was an enormous breakdown that was happening. This is a huge myth, you guys. Why would we even allow systems to make decisions about us or for us if they can't cite their sources or show their work? Like, just because it's a technology doesn't mean that we can't expect that. And I know that it's possible for this to be transparent and explainable because I'm working on it at Bast AI. So it truly is, and it's something that I think we as people now in the world of AI need to demand from our AI providers going forward. And lastly, and I would say probably most importantly, and as you can imagine, the one that probably drives me even more crazy than number 3 is that AI is going to take all of our jobs. As I stated earlier, work is naturally evolving. There's these moments in time where there's a massive innovation, there's a disruptive technology. It impacts the evolution, right? That's going to be AI. That's going to be whatever future technologies come in. But AI is not intended to replace humans. It is intended to augment human intelligence. So here is a little one from IBM that I think is really helpful. Humans are really good at a few things, and machines are really good at a few things, right? Humans are great at intuition, emotional intelligence, common sense, creativity, specificity, and machines are amazing at probabilities, analyzing data really quickly, performing repetitive tasks, which we should be happy about, because there's repetitive tasks that I don't want to do. I'd rather spend my time focusing on other things. And again, the best way to think about this is that AI is predicting the next best answer. So if you're on ChatGPT and you ask it a mathematical word problem, it can't answer it correctly. It is just going to predict the next best answer based on former inputs. So it cannot answer those questions. It still needs our critical thinking. And I always say the reverse is true because some people forget that I said it one way and not the other. And the funny thing about this is that what this is saying is that we actually just need to be more human. Kim and I were talking earlier, and she was like, what if humans were never intended to work? And I thought about it because I was sitting, knowing that these slides were coming up and I'm talking about these industrial revolutions. And guess what? When this first happened, when we were, working in factories and the way our education system was created, it was created to make us into robots, basically, right? Like, why do we want to be herded as cows into this process anymore? This is actually giving us so much possibility. In his TED Talk, Kai-Fu Lee, an executive at Apple, talks about how in that second industrial revolution, jobs were decomposed into the assembly line. And as I'm saying, in the age of AI, these entire assembly line jobs are going to be replaced. And you can see based on the human what humans are good at, right? You can see these predictions, by the way, were made in 2018. So again, just to dispel some of the myths here, this is not happening at the pace that I think everyone is expecting things to happen, right? It didn't happen in 5 years. All those jobs were not replaced. But what you can really see here is that what machines are great at are the types of jobs that are going to be replaced. What he did do, though, is he added another dimension of compassion. And that's what machines aren't great at, right? So these jobs you see here in yellow and red, they're the perfect example of jobs that are not going away, but they're being transformed. Like I was saying, AI is going to be able to augment their roles by handling these repetitive and routine tasks that are just driving us crazy. This is an amazing thing. Some jobs are going to go away. All the remaining jobs are going to be transformed and new jobs will be created. And going back to my little quote before, herein lies this enormous opportunity ahead of us. But there's a big question, and I know the question, I think Bill said it yesterday, how do we continue to evolve when we couldn't possibly know what jobs will look like in the next 5 years or beyond? We can't possibly know what disruptive technologies will come after AI. And I know most of us just want this silver bullet answer, right? Well, I'm going to share a little story with you guys. In 2005, I was working for a subsidiary of Randstad, and I was staffing IT consultants for Bank of America, BNP Paribas, which is a French bank, and Citigroup. And every day I'd meet with these hiring managers to go over what the needs were for their open roles. And what I learned very quickly, I was, by the way, remember, staffing IT consultants, okay, at all levels. What I learned very quickly from these hiring managers was that these technical skills were surprisingly not that important. They could be taught as long as someone had some basic technical knowledge. But life skills, I call them life skills, they're formerly known as soft skills, they were the most coveted, and they were the hardest to find and the hardest to teach. And I'm sorry to say this, but sometimes, a lot of times, the degrees weren't necessarily any indication that this person had any of the skills that my clients needed. There was, however, there's good news in this. There was, however, one type of person that almost always resulted in a successful placement. This person had a liberal arts degree and less than 5 years of related work experience, or they were someone that didn't have a degree, but they had a lot of life experience, like a parent or a caregiver. It was always someone like that. And they had a lot of years of work experience, but it was like not in a particular field, right? It was not in a related field. This person also had one or more technical certifications. They played a musical instrument, or they were involved in some sort of creative art field, even as a hobby. They were a hard worker who was passionate about improving. They were a team player. And this one I always laugh about. They were someone who took care of themselves, showed up on time, and dressed fairly well. And the reason I laugh about that one is because I cannot tell you how many times a very high-level IT person did not work out because of that last one. But seriously, over 20 years of my career, I've been involved in shaping the skills economy, building technologies to break down some of the barriers. I've worked with thousands of employers, thousands of educators, thousands of governments all over the world. This same equation still holds true. This set of skills is still the same set of skills and capabilities that cross-cut all fields and industries. They withstand recessions, industrial revolutions, emerging technologies, and new jobs. And they are still the most sought after by employers. I am a job data person for anyone who does not know my background, and I can tell you firsthand, I look at job data all the time, and in every AI skills, future skills research, they mention a combination of these. And going back to that what humans are good at slide, right? That's kind of this, right? A liberal arts education does create the perfect foundation for these skills, but the reason I call them life skills is because you can't just sit down in a 4-year program and learn these skills and be good to go for life. These are the kind of skills that require continual practice in many contexts. Lifelong learning of the future will need to include a combination of formal and informal learning and practice. So the work that you guys are doing with College Promise is still extremely important. These foundations are extremely important. The promise of AI is hyper-personalization. And you might remember back to that earlier slide, the 5th industrial revolution that we've just gone into is called personalization, right? I'm gonna ask you guys a favor. I know you're eating. Can you close your eyes for a minute? I wanna paint a picture for you. I need you guys imagining. Imagine walking into a museum or even a simulated museum through a headset. You put in an earpiece and are prompted to choose your preferred language and voice style. I choose English and Snoop Dogg's voice. Your guide asks you if you would like to share your personal knowledge graph to personalize your tour experience. You walk to a painting, and your guide tells you that you first saw this artist in 2006 on your family vacation to Madrid. As you continue the tour, your guide reminds you the weather today is hot and suggests a water break, directing you to the nearest refill station or cafe. As you can see right now in your mind's eye, the potential AI offers can be quite beautiful. Remember that the purpose of AI is to augment human intelligence. In order for us to realize the possibility and reduce malicious intent, we need more people involved in AI. We need 20% of our global population, that's 1.6 billion people right now, to have a true, diverse representation of data that we can build AI upon. We need people that are building AI to be multidisciplinary. Think back to that definition that I gave you of cognitive science. Engineering provides technical knowledge, yes, but ethics adds guidelines for safety. Psychology offers insight on human behavior, which if we're talking about training machines to understand human language, would that be important? Art is integrating creativity. If we rely only on engineering, we're going to lack a huge amount of critical context. And we need these people to be lifelong learners with growth mindsets. They need to be able to continually improve and evolve as our world of work will continue to do. And they need to augment themselves with AI and be a part of building AI. Because as I just described in what you are imagining in your head, that is only possible with you being involved in AI. We need all of you. I borrowed some slides from our fabulous team at Bast AI, who I am the chief AI strategist of and investor. And some of the concepts from this book, AI for the Rest of Us, written by my wonderful friends, Beth Rudden, the founder and chairwoman of Bast AI, and Phaedra Bonadaris, the leader of IBM's ethical AI practice. I highly recommend this book for everyone. AI will impact us all in every facet of our personal and professional lives, and this will go into more detail than I have time to do today, of course, with you guys. And if you're interested in going deeper on the skills economy, Beth and I are in the process of writing a book on the future of the skills economy that will hopefully be out early next year. And if you'd like a free copy, I'm happy to send you guys one. So just email me.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. I was going to say, I think we have time for questions.
We actually we don't at the moment, okay. But you will be around so people can find you. Oh. Okay, keep your question brief. This is good practice.
Okay, I feel so special. My question is about the personalized experience. I think one of the things that strains our society now is the lack of shared experiences. The fact that we get our news pushed to us based on the news we read. And so if I'm seeing art that I've chosen based on what I've already chosen, how is that learning? And how is that not going to further splinter us the way some of the personalized services are doing now?
I think that's an amazing point, and partly why I feel so strongly, and I think so many of the others here as well feel so strongly about us being involved in AI. It's not going to go away. That's what I would say. And if we don't participate in it, then it will steer us. I'll share something personal here, but back in 2016, I had a pretty massive burnout. And during that process, one thing I recognized was, like many people, I would scroll Instagram, and I don't know why this just dawned on me at some point. I was like, oh my gosh, every time I'm on Instagram, doom scrolling, I'm so sad. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm choosing who to follow. I'm choosing what things to block. I'm choosing what shows up in my feed. I have a choice. And that's what I think a lot of people forget. I have a choice. So in that personalized experience, if I don't like what it's showing me, I'm going to tell it. Just the same way that if you're on ChatGPT right now and you put in a prompt and you get an answer, or like Kim's son who put in the picture and right, like I put in pictures, by the way, and I was like, okay, what? And that's why I'm like, anyone that puts in pictures, it's not going to look like them right now. But if you don't participate, then it's not learning from you. So it is a very valid point, and the only thing I would say that right now we really do have to start to, you can guide it. You can say, nope, that's not for me. I want to see more things that I've never seen before. Thank you, right? Like that's the only thing that I can think of right now. But if anyone else has any other suggestions, please feel free to jump in.
Thank you, Kelly. Everybody give Kelly a round of applause.